Good to have you, Dr. Gcina Mhlope, on Newsweek PM. Welcome to the show. You would have heard part of that conversation, I'm thinking, between Bafedile and the gentleman in the Northwest. And it is devastating to hear, isn't it, especially on a day such as this?
Absolutely. Happy Heritage Day to you, Thembekile. Indeed, I'm listening to it, and I'm one of the people who used to go to Mabana Cultural Center to run workshops there, creative writing workshops and poetry, storytelling. I used to go quite often in the early days, and I'm so sad to hear that Mabana is no longer the space that I remember. It was a state-of-the-art place. It was frequented by the locals, and they treasured it. I'm so sad that it is in a state like that. Unfortunately, it happens in different parts of our country. We need to rededicate ourselves to preserving what is in our communities, and that's the sense of ownership. It's extremely important.
So, and just on that point, let's talk about the role of the arts, and especially community arts, in preservation and teaching about our heritage, our culture, as a thing that we need to pass on long after the people who were there even before a Mabana Center existed.
Absolutely. It's extremely important for us to play our role in passing on the values, the intangible cultural heritage that we are talking about, and pass it on to younger generations and interact with them. Something that we keep repeating, and I'm hoping that it's sinking into people's minds, the importance of intergenerational dialogue. We need to talk to one another about the way things used to be, the way things are today, and watch how young people with their beautiful dreams and the new skills that they have, the digital platforms, where they are taking it to. Let's touch the past and fill the future. There's room for both. And I think it's extremely important for us to do that. Even in television space, even in filmmaking, sometimes people have got the skills. They know how to use the camera. They know how to do sound. They said, oh, you are the best with sound. And they tell you, you can take photographs, but you need story, you need content that speaks to your own people. Because when you have got solid content, you are creating classics. Something that's not only going to be treasured by local people, but when it travels to other countries, you're not embarrassed when it stands on international platforms because it belongs there. A good story has got something universal about it.
And like many South Africans of my age, I won't say how old I am, I remember you...
You've got to be proud of your age, young man. Be proud.
I remember you as a child of the 90s telling stories on television, some of them, yes, completely fictional, but a lot of them also with close traces to our very history and heritage. Do such spaces still exist today?
Absolutely. We do have spaces where we are telling stories, and also in community centers. I like that. Yesterday I was at Inanda. I went to 3 different events yesterday. Heritage was like all over the place. In the morning, I went and presented and talked about heritage and storytelling and music, and the way history telling is crucial at a corporate event. Off I went to Inanda, a Ushwini Cultural Center. I finished there, and people are phoning, hey, we are ready for you at the University of Ghana. There's the Nkwame Nkrumah chair, and I was doing the keynote address there as well, talking about the bones of memory, talking about the history that we come from and those who came before us. I also love the fact that this year, 2021, we're honoring people like Umama, Charlotte Manyamaxeke. So the keynote address I was doing at Ushwini was about that, telling some of the stories of her journey. And so we do these things in different spaces, on Zoom platforms. We do them in community centers. We do them at conferences of your people. That's what gives us power, and that's what makes us touch different people of different ages and different cultural backgrounds.
We're also watching today dozens of AmaZulu gathered in Kwadukuza for Umkhosi Welembe today. King Misuzulu among them, a new king of AmaZulu following the loss of King Gudluzwelithini and the Queen Mantrombi. There's a rich history there as well, and a lot of us were only learning it with the passing of the king. How much of our history is actually documented?
the sad thing is that not much of our history is documented. I think not only do we hear about it, sometimes some people we discover who they were, what contribution they made at their funeral. And some people, we've got a tendency, you know, the mother of Solomon Mahlangu used to say, why do you celebrate the day my son died? Why don't you celebrate the day he was born? The same thing happens to Stephen Bantu Biko. We always talk about the day he died, the 12th of September. We don't talk about the day he was born and the journey he had traveled and who influenced him, because it didn't fall from the sky. And so our history is not often documented. And when there are documentary films or books written about them, or small, even not small, but theater pieces or songs composed, they don't have the financial support to be played over and over and over again, because that's what has to happen. I always say a story repeated is a story remembered. So the stories of our people, let's repeat them over and over so that they stay with us constantly. That's the African thing, actually. Indigenous knowledge systems were passed on through oral traditions.
Your hopes then for South Africa on this preservation program and the passing on of this indigenous knowledge, what do you want us to see doing in the next 5 to 10 years and beyond that?
Well, the typical Gcina Mhlope wish, you know it already. I want us to have spaces where there are oral history museums all over South Africa of ordinary people's stories. Ordinary people's stories, not the same names over and over. That's my big wish, so that those stories are preserved. But another thing that I wish could happen is for us to have conversations where we talk about content in music, songs that have got staying power, that will become classics, about dance productions that have got all the different things must bear resemblance to the power of story, to the people that should be honored. And we had recently a lecture about Mama Nokukhanya Luthuli, my heavyweight, my role model. And it's not often that you hear her name being mentioned. Let's find people like those, Queen Mantatise or Queen Mujaji. Let's talk about Babu Solplaki, AC Jordan. Let those names be remembered over and over. Or Babu Mazisi Kunene, let those names be remembered. Or Babu Alfred Kabula. Bring those names back and sometimes have young people perform their poetry live. I'm happy that you're writing new poetry, but touch the past, feel the future, bring the magic of the past and re-inspire what you can talk about today. Because
so maybe
solid truth is universal and it's extremely important.
So maybe then a collaboration between Amapiano and people such as yourselves.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Collaboration is everything. Interdisciplinary collaboration. That is the future of the creative arts in our country. Interdisciplinary collaboration. I want to see one of the stories I perform a lot, and I've done it as a musical show. I want to see it as a classical music production like Peter and the Wolf. I'd like to see Fuduka's Magic, the music to be recomposed, to be performed, the narrative to be done with a philharmonic orchestra. Why can't we do that? And then we take it all over the world.
Dr. Gcina Mhlope, always fantastic to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time today.